All right. So, hello everybody. Welcome back to another Heaven Punch meeting today, 6/18/24. We're kind of just going to be talking about some of the stuff that we've been working before, and also kind of refocus the efforts that we're going to be doing in terms of coding and implementation in general, like design work, for us to be able to better move into this the actual playable version of the game. So yeah, kind of going over some of the stuff that we have. Let me start sharing my screen. Going over some of the stuff that we have been working on. A lot of it is gonna be in the actual, for example, in terms of art. I guess we can talk about that first. In terms of art, we've been working on the secondary, like the drawings for the characters. I know Tori already has like a work in progress grids model that I'm gonna show in a second, and Rylan has been working in the trim sheets. Um, I know that Chandler has been a little bit indisposed this past few weeks, but he should also be starting to work on the actual models that are gonna be like walls and stuff like that for the playable version, for the playable level. And Rylan, from now on, I'll probably put you onto that as well, like working on some kind of like wall, like tileable material. We can take a look at it once I open the project as well. Um,
Okay.
after the stream, just because I know you just finished those. So yeah, we've got that going on in terms of like the 2D art. I've also been talking to Sabrina. She did some great music for now. Some stuff that we can definitely use, and I also have some notes for other, like maybe a few, like a different track or some small changes that you can make to the tracks for them to like be a little bit more appropriate for the game. Other than that, I'm also gonna start getting her to get started on the actual like cutscene kind of like drawing, so we can have a little bit of that uh, set up. And after that, like yeah, we'll just kind of keep working on mostly like models in terms of artists. The 2D artists are gonna be still be doing their 2D stuff, like their portraits and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, the main thing is gonna be us working towards like having being able to fill up like all of these spaces that we have over here. Not necessarily with different models, but with some of them. So basically, we can just kind of like get something that we can play. So we can see kind of like the bleachers area over here. We can see like this is all the different. These basically are the different combat kind of spaces that we have. Those are all taken like from the notes from the designers that have already put it in the system, in the engine. And some of these are going to be a little bit simpler, so they kind of like teach the player how to move and stuff like that. Something like this one over here. I know the designers know about it a little bit better than I do. And yeah, so we've got these kind of like preliminary kind of like uh, versions of the levels of the actual combat encounters in the level. And the other thing that we have after we're able to finish up the some of the models so we can make it functional over here, and the trim sheets are already ready, so we have the floor. The next thing would be actually breaking these up and combining them in an actual like cohesive kind of like line, either like a straight line or like some kind of like flow, so it actually plays like a video game level. And that would be honestly like this is what gonna be kind of like the bulk of the game. It's gonna be like all these combat encounters, and the other thing would be the boss fight. But then we can get to that after we have like a good kind of like understanding, or like a good grasp of like the mechanics and stuff like that we're gonna do. Okay, so moving on from the level kind of art. Well, before that, like, so yeah, Rylan, as you can take a look, like most of the things that I'm kind of looking for now would be um, shapes like these, basically, like basically shapes that
Okay.
probably ones that I can tile, like we can tile together for it to be easier, like to make it like a kind of like a big wall like this. And yeah, kind of like this kind of shapes, like they don't necessarily have to have like this exact kind of
Hmm.
like orientations, but something along those lines, like basically like big rectangles, is what's gonna work the
They're
most.
supposed to be like barricades of debris and stuff, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it can be. I was talking to Chandler about this before. It can be anything like some kind of like you know how they have like the high jump beds. I think that's the name of it. Like something like this, for example. Imagine like this like
Okay.
tile top of each other, or I don't know, like those
Like
like the
picnic tables,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like
they're
basically
blocky.
anything that you can kind of think of that's gonna be for like that's gonna be kind of like sports related that can be tiled over like a barricade, that could work. Yeah, anything as far as this is what I had in mind when I first thought about it, and it can be like, oh, it can also be like like in those like like in anime where they have like a big box with like I don't know, like 100 balls of like soccer balls or whatever inside of it, something like that can work too, you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, like maybe like yeah, like 2 or 3 models of that should be more than enough. Plus the ones that Chandler's doing. So we can have like just like the actual walls for the level set up like that. And then after that, we can start moving into like the toys, which shouldn't be that many. It should be like the small kind of like wall toy, the bouncing toy, and then the kind of like this like the big like stick type toy. Um, Something like those are probably going to be like the last ones that we make for the playable, but the main thing is going to be focusing on those models definitely. Um, so yeah, that's going to be it for in terms of like the environment art for now. And looking at the actual model, so I have Agrios's model right here. Oh, let me do that. Yeah, so very epic work in progress model for Agrios,
Hmm.
looking very cool.
Dude just
Um,
rolled out of bed in his pajamas.
yeah, I don't know why it's pink, but I'll take it. It's okay. It's just work in progress colors, but it's completely fine. So the main issue that I'll just show you guys right now, like I was able to kind of start the rigging process, but the main issue with that I have right now is that since the model is very low poly, like just to give you an idea, when I grab the model and I put it in the level, like this is how big he is. So yeah, like it's quite small.
When you
So just
import
because
them,
of
you
the
should if you change
polygon.
it to 100, does that help? Like the scale modifier?
Oh yeah, well I mean this one has to scale. Would that be like when I'm importing it that I should change this?
When you import it, there should be an option. I know I
Oh.
had to put mine up on 100 because
Oh, let
for
me take a
some
look.
reason Maya's meters are not real meters; they're centimeters always.
Mm-hmm. Let
They
me
work in
see.
the worst unit. It's so annoying.
Yeah. Let me take a
Actually, no,
look. Let me
millimeters,
see.
I guess,
Like
right? Millimeters.
right here. So import uniform scale. Would this be it?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay.
I
Let's
think 100 should get you the right scale.
yeah. I want to see if I can change the name. No, this should be fine. Okay, it's loading. There you go.
Oh,
Oh.
oh
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
it died.
Nah, I think what it did is that. Man is super
Oh,
big.
never
There you
mind.
go. Yeah.
100's too big.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, I mean, this is because this one is like 13 times bigger than the normal one. So.
Okay.
Okay. So well, let me move this.
Behold,
Yeah.
marketable plushies.
Let me put him in
It
like
looks
that.
like Monsters versus Aliens type, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's definitely. Oh. Okay. I see. That probably actually might solve our issue. Because let me see if I put him down. I had like the scale that I wanted. At Tori also noted it down, and she says she's gonna change it in like I think it's Maya that she's using. So that's probably gonna be better like for the final kind of fix. But if we can do it like that, that would probably mean that this is fixed as well. Because
Hmm.
here, yeah. So
Also, make
this is what
sure they.
happened with the low poly. Like it just had one bone that was the whole size, like the size of the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
I think I might
You
have to.
really can't change the size of the bones? That's odd.
That's the thing. So it has over here like edit skeleton, and I can change the scale,
What
but
about the modular skeleton thing from like the new update?
that I haven't tried. I think well, this is what they put in 5.3. I haven't tried that modular one yet, but I
Oh, wait,
installed
are
the
we?
plugin. Well, let me do this real quick. Let me make it again, like convert it now that I have
Let me see.
new one.
We should have been on 5.4. If we aren't at
Yeah, we are, we
5.4
are,
now,
we are,
we
we are.
must have.
It's
Okay,
just the
okay.
one that I was looking at.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, so I think this is it. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, this bone is definitely better. Okay, cool. So I can probably get started on some basic stuff with this. Um, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like it doesn't get bigger when I move the scale.
Mm.
But anyway, if anything, like Tori already told me also some other programs that I could use for rigging, so we don't necessarily have to use this. I'll take a look at the modular one. I'll make like a little note for that. Um, But yeah, that's kind of like what I ran into when I put it in when I put the character in like that. But I'll take a look at that later. But yeah, so we have at least we have like a work in progress model that we can like kind of do some of the animations with, or if anything, what we can start off like after I get the rig done, I can just make like some kind of like thumbnailing, like just basically make it like specific movements that are related to specific actions, so we can start on I don't know, like dividing the different attack animations and stuff like that, or like the attack patterns or buttons or whatever that we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna be working on in terms of the art, and yeah, that's pretty much like what we have right now. I know over here, yeah, we have the actual character. And now, yeah, now I get what you mean in terms of the like doing the charge punch, just holding back the right click, and then it just kind of keeps going like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just gotta work on like the actual, yeah, like the collision. But we already talked about this. So yeah, it's also this is kind of the stuff that we have in the engine right now. I can't look at the trim sheets because I'm not on the right branch, and I'm afraid that if I move, it's all gonna like delete itself. But the trim sheets are always gonna be in there. So taking a look at the other stuff that we can talk about. So um, now that Jeremy asked you those questions about merging, he should be able to get started on like the menus and the functional UI. So this is definitely not gonna be like anything pretty. It's just gonna be literally like the health bar that we can have and stuff like
Just like
that.
circles and rectangles.
Exactly. Yeah,
Simple
yeah.
as
Just
can
really just a
be.
rectangle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just so we can have something functional. Um, and I'm probably gonna have Zach and Jeremy also work on toys, especially like the simple ones, like the at least the bouncy one for now. And then the other things that would be necessary from design would be just like working on the level layout, like the actual complete level layout. But that's after we have other things like the enemies, like basically like basic functions, the spawning, and the kind of like a combat encounter manager. Those things are still going to be necessary before the layout. And then the sound effects, I know that SAG has a lot of sound effects already, so we're pretty good on that as well. So yeah, last thing that we got to take a look at is going to be in the code. And yeah, now that Jacob, now that you're here, we can kind of like put you like get you up to speed a little bit more. Um, let's see. So yeah, I'll keep the chat open. So yeah, in terms of the stuff that we've been working on, so Susi's been working on a lot of the character controller stuff. These are the tasks that we have for the second sprint. I think you should be in the yeah, you're also in the GitHub. Perfect. So you should be able to look at it underneath like the sprint 2 section. Um, so yeah, the things that we were thinking that you could work on would be mainly with the enemies. We have like the enemy AI tree and Blackboard, the implementation of the HP, and this can probably wait after we have the animation, so we can actually like, or like you can implement the HP, and then in terms of like dying and stuff like that, we can work on that after we have some of the animations for the attacks working, so we can have better feedback for that. And then in terms of the attack, so if you look at the GDD on the Google Drive, it has a lot of different attacks for the enemies. So the track and field club member, he has like an idle
Oh,
state,
okay.
active state, yeah, and it has like a combat state. So and a Godspeed state as well. For the
Mm.
basic playable, we're basically just looking for these two pretty much. Um,
Okay.
I know that when the enemy sees the player, they will begin running towards them. Yeah, just like running towards the enemy, and then they do kind of like a jumping attack. They kind of just like launch themselves at the enemy, at the character. So we don't have any. We also don't have any model for the enemies yet, and that's still probably gonna be like maybe like at least a week and a half out. So if anything, you guys can just use like maybe the Agrios model, or maybe just even keep this like the basic model of the Unreal and just make it like red or something, for now, just so you guys can. And if you want, like whenever they do, like whenever if you wanna code the jumping attack or anything like that, maybe you can do something where like the model you put like a red tint on it or like a different color tint on it, so you can tell that the attack is happening without having any animation. Since I know the model's probably gonna take a bit from
Okay.
now. So yeah, you guys can do that in terms of like talking like working on functionality for the enemies and the combat states, which is like after they accomplish the attack, if they're still relatively far distance, they will attack the play with a cake mill. Yeah, we can probably focus on this for now, and if we have time before the we want to finish up the playable, we can work on this combat state. But the Godspeed state is definitely going to be like a nice to have, at least for now. That we're starting out, just like the implementation, right? Um,
Mm.
we also have the second enemy type. We're not gonna worry about this right now. Let's just get at least for the first playable. Let's work on the track and field for now, like just a basic enemy, and then we can worry about the this and then the boss obviously like afterwards. So yeah, in terms of like that's kind of like an overview of what we're taking a look at, and that's what most of the stuff that you would be looking at, Jacob. So I have yeah the implementation, basic enemy attack. That's what I meant, what I just explained, and just the enemy death and respawn system. So this would basically be, I think I also put it over here, would be kind of like yeah, like a system for designers to manipulate spawns. Basically like a combat manager, right? So basically having a thing or a system where whenever, like just to give you an idea, whenever Agrios goes and he steps on this area right here, for example, in this whole area, the combat starts, right? Which means that exits like get closed, enemies start spawning. Either like first they spawn three, and then after you beat three, three more come in, or anything like that. Basically, a system to be able to start combat. It doesn't have to be too complicated or too customizable right now. Um, but yeah, that could be. I don't know if Susie, you want to take a look at that. Oh, well, actually, I think Susie, I would rather have you work on the character stuff, and then Jacob can take a look at least like a basic implementation of that, and then you guys can
Okay.
work together to perfection, like perfect it afterwards. But yeah, so basically, kind of like just like a encounter, like a combat start. You go into like it's a hitbox that whenever a collision box, whenever you go in, the exits like close down, and I don't know, like three enemies spawn, right?
Okay.
And if we had the option to, or like if there was a way for you guys to code it in a way that the designers can basically mark or like put a game object whatever they want the enemies to spawn, exactly like an invisible trigger, yeah. If there's a way to put like, I don't know, like some kind of like game only game object that's where the enemies spawn, that would be great. So that way the designers can basically just like pinpoint where they want the enemies to spawn. And then obviously
All
like
right.
after the enemies are done, like a certain number of enemies, the combat is over. So yeah, it would be the invisible trigger that creates the game objects, like the like walls, like for example, like right here and right over there, to close off. Like the trigger would set those up, and it would also set up the I don't know, the three game objects that are gonna spawn up the enemies. And after those three enemies are dead, the walls close off, and then you get the objective, or like the objective can be worked on later, but it's like basically you finish the combat encounter, right? Um, so that's what I meant by that. And this is the same thing as that, like the barriers that prevent players from leaving combat zone as combat starts. That would be part of that. Um, and in terms of like enemy death and respawn systems, that would pretty much be inside of that as well. Like it's just so for now we can probably just worry about having like the enemies spawn up, and just maybe it'd be like maybe like one wave of enemies, like spawn up a certain number of enemies, or like as many as the game object uh, provides, and then when those are dead, like the encounter ends. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I have in mind. Um, I can see making a prefab that spawns over the X's with the trigger to spawn enemies and disappears. Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, yeah. The only thing is that, well, the main thing about this would be kind of like trying to make it in a way that it would be easy for the designers to kind of come in and just be like, oh, I want to spawn up an enemy like right here, and right here, right? And they
Well, for that,
just. Hmm.
I have an idea for that. We can use the pooling system. We can
Hmm.
just have actor. Yeah, that's what it was called. Actor with
Exactly.
multiple spawn points that'll pull from that pool,
Okay.
and then it'll use the basically the components that will use the component system. That way you can pull in an actor, and then like on the right side where you see it says like static mesh or something
Hmm.
under components, you can just
Oh,
click on them and move them around.
yeah, I think I see what you mean. Yeah, 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 I get it. Yeah, yeah, that you
Mm.
just kind of like put it in. Yeah, it's similar to what we did in terms of like I think with the some of the mechanics that we use in level design had something like that. I think it's like, remember when we had like the jumping platform, the way that Shweep made it was that you had like a invisible game object that would tell you where the character would like end up in.
Yeah.
So basically something similar to that in terms of like logic, but yeah, you know what I
Okay.
mean. So that's kind of what I mean by that system. And after that, we can just have like after we have the enemies and that system together, that'll probably be most of the bulk of the work for the first playable. So that way, Jeremy and Zach can come in and just like spawn their enemies, and we can and then finally make like the actual whole layout of the first level,
All right.
and then have those encounters. But yeah, so that's kind of like I'll probably like just set this up like this, like put you in terms of this, and then put Susie like in terms of this, and well, yeah, you guys can both work on this together, and then the stuff that Susie himself has would be working on like the finishing like the character stuff. But yeah, Susie, in terms of that, like I don't know if you want to try like making like the first three attacks. Like I said, we for this playable we're only doing first three attacks and the charge punch. Um, so the other thing would be like the thing that you can work on now would be like the bouncing off of walls and the um I guess after I have the animations, we can work on like actually implementing those animations in the attack and in the character itself. So that would
Mhm.
be it for now. And then in the meantime, you can also work with Jacob in terms of those support systems. But
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much all I have in terms of that. Other thing would be the toys and the hazards. Like I said, the bounce toy, Jeremy and Zach are gonna be working on that. And then we can move on. Like we can talk about like the other toys. But this should be the bulk of the work in terms of the first playable. Um, After that, like just so we can have an idea. After that, we'll probably like focus up on polishing a lot of the stuff from this because this is gonna be like what like maybe 70% of the game is going to be what we're making here, at least like the infrastructure that we're making here. And then we can focus up on polishing that so it like we have something playable that we can definitely like show off at, first of all. And then we can work on making stuff like the UI look nicer, working on the models for the first section and the last section. And then depending on like how our workload ends up being in terms of our timeline, we can also work on the boss and stuff like that. But yeah, we are at a great pace right now. There's still definitely plenty to do, but we're working through it. And yeah, we'll probably have a meeting maybe in like 1 or 2 weeks. I'll let you guys know. And I don't know if any of you guys have any questions for me or any questions in general for anybody else right now.
I don't got anything.
Yeah, it should be okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So yeah, Jacob, don't be afraid to ask us anything. Like I said, the GDD is gonna have a lot of details just because I know because you're joining a little bit like after we've already done some stuff. So the GDD should have a good description of a lot of stuff. If you need any like if you have any questions at all in terms of like the enemies how they should behave or anything like that, you can talk to me and I'll ask like whoever knows best, like Jeremy or Zach or something like that. Or yeah, don't be afraid to ask. I'm available for the most part, like 24/7 ish on Discord message. So perfect. We can start working on this stuff. Thank you guys for coming, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in like in a few weeks or in a few
All
week in
right.
a week or something like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.